Now I need to talk to you just a second here about Transact SQL. I mentioned this in an earlier video and I kind of tried to pass right over it. You may have caught it. One of the things you always love about being in the information technology industry is no matter what you know, there's something else you need to know. Something else you need to read, something else you need to learn. Same case in databases. If you're new to databases, you're going to hear and see in this course Transact SQL. Transact SQL is the standard language that's used to create, edit, and maintain databases, and even that's not totally true. Transact SQL is actually one of the standard languages. Talk about that in just a second. But if you're not familiar with Transact SQL, you're going to have to get familiar with Transact SQL to be able to successfully use SQL Server 2005. Now, you need to understand that Transact SQL is not a full programming language. It really is an interpreted language that we use to create our databases, tables, insert and delete, and modify data, and so forth. Now, it is easy to learn. Most people find it very easy to learn, depending on your experience in programming, but it's not difficult by any stretch. The only thing that makes SQL difficult at all is that there are different flavors out there. Now, there is an ANSI standard for SQL, but the various manufacturers of the different SQL-based products, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, and so forth, these various databases use relational technology and they use SQL languages, but they use different flavors of them. Now, T-SQL or Transact SQL is what's used by Microsoft in their SQL products. Now, don't get into a push and shove with anyone about which one's better or worse. Everybody has their preferences. It's why there are Fords and Chevys, Baptists, Methodists, Democrats, Republicans. Okay, avoid those arguments. Just simply use the one that goes with the product that you're using and leave it alone. So if you're using a Microsoft product, you're going to use Transact SQL. Good example, Oracle. Another fine database product uses PL SQL. What's the difference? Just enough difference to drive you nuts, to be honest with you. If you learn PL SQL or you learn T-SQL, you're pretty much learning the same thing. There's about 15% differences between the two languages on real bizarre little things like how to do a table join and this sort of thing. So nothing really huge. You'll also see some other flavors out there just to kind of bring you up to speed here. PostgreSQL, MySQL is pretty big. Now, MySQL is part of the open source environment. And MySQL continues to be upgraded and so forth. It's kind of fun to go play with. If you want to go take a look at it, go. But for the purposes of this course and for Microsoft, you're going to have to use Transact SQL. Now, what's interesting about this, you can create or edit Transact SQL code in your administrative tool that comes with SQL Server or in any text editor. So any of the text editors that you're currently using, as long as you're just using basic plain text, Notepad, and all those others, then you can create and modify Transact SQL in those. Now, what if you're not familiar with Transact SQL or T-SQL as you'll hear it called? The best thing I can tell you to do is to go out to your local bookstore or get on Amazon or wherever you buy your books and get the book called Teach Yourself Transact SQL in 21 Days. Okay, this was put out by Sam's Publishing. Now understand, you're not going to be a Transact SQL guru by the time you finish this book. There are other great resources out there. VTC, a little shameless marketing here, VTC has a Transact SQL course on video. You may want to grab that and take a look at it. But this will give you a good indoctrination as to the basics of the Transact SQL language and how to use the commands and create databases and maintain them and so forth. So that's just a little extra you get. You always get something in IT a little extra, right? So Transact SQL is something if you're not familiar with, you're going to have to get familiar with.